This is Views 54. Issues, opinions, and discussion. Olelo.
Aloha, I'm State Representative John Mizuno. I want to share some interesting bills that are before us at the Capitol this legislative session. We have gambling, and it's come back. As you know, we've had gaming bills in the past, and they've never passed this legislature ever since this legislature began. But it is interesting. It's a way of looking at possibly raising revenue without increasing taxes. It's important to also note that over $1 billion of Hawaii's money goes to Nevada every year. So we're hoping to retain some of that money. One way is through a lottery, and we're hoping that we can get a commission started to see how we can best do this. The funds would go into it's called a special fund just for education. It will be used solely for education. So we'll see how that works out. Another hot topic, Bill, is same-sex marriage. They have bills both on the House and the Senate. We're not sure if there's going to be a hearing on either the Senate side or the House side, but that's always interesting. As many of you may know, there's a case that's also headed to the Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court. That's Jackson versus Abercrombie, to determine if the Hawaii state constitution violates a person's right, same-sex couples' rights to get married. So we'll see. That's an interesting bill. Another bill that might bring up some interest for many of you, physician-assisted suicide. That's always a hot topic, and we'll see if we're going to have a hearing in either the Judiciary Committee on the House side or on the Senate side. So we'll see. Those are some hot-button issues. Finally, the budget. That's very important. We are hoping to avoid raising the general excise tax, or any taxes for that matter, but yet there are still a number of concerns. We have unfunded liability. We'd like to replenish the Hurricane Relief Fund and the Rainy Day Fund, which we depleted during the years of recession. So that's a big question mark there. The other concern we have is the pay raises. As many of you know, we have UPW. Another union would be HGEA, and of course the teachers, HSTA. They're all set to get pay raises. How much, we don't know. 1%, 3%, we don't know, but yet people have to take into consideration that's millions of dollars with every percentage of pay increase. And so it's another concern for us. And we're hoping for some buy-in from the public as we move along and try to correctly craft a prudent budget that doesn't bankrupt our state, but continues to provide essential services for all of us in the state of Hawaii. So we're looking forward to a very fast and furious legislative session with a lot of hot-button issues. But again, this is the people's house. It's your house, and so we're looking for your input. Thank you.
Ai, aloha, o Kalehua Krug.
A o wau keiki ka vai aia.
Ge mo'olelo ana mau e pili ana ke kumu o ka akoko ana o na kula ma ni'ini, ma ke kapikala ni. O ko'u mana o ke ia, o hiki mai mākou no ka apono ana i ke kei mau pila e holo nei ma ka aha olelo. Pili kela mau pila i ka ho'okumu ana i na ho'ike olelo Hawaii, mai ka olelo Hawaii, me ka manao na ka poe olelo Hawaii e ho'okumu i kei mau ho'ike.
Ano laila, ea kako ma ka wao ka mo au kala ho'ola olelo Hawaii, ma ka hanauna e lua, ka ho'ulu i o ka papahana mai na pepe ai ke kula nui, a mai make, makoa pau e hoi kaika mai kai ka papahana e na wao mauli ai na keiki a ka maluna o ka loiloi kupono e pono ai na keiki. A ole maluna o ka lula e launa ole ai me ka papahana e ho'ona awau i nei na keiki ma apuni ka muku aina. Mahalo.
Aloha and welcome to your state capital. I'm Representative Gene Ward, and I have a few minutes to share with you some of the things that have happened before we went into session and some of the things that are now in session. We just started off. We just kicked off. The train is just starting to leave the station. First, a few updates. One of the most immediate things, because we are so dependent on tourism, is the pending Boeing aircraft company strike. If that strike comes, there's like 1 million flights that could be effective. The problem is, whenever there's a delay and you're leaving the departure lounge, it's usually because there's something wrong mechanically, and it's something beyond the maintenance that any of our crews locally or any of our maintenance people can handle. And it's the 22,000 workers that are in Washington and various parts of the country that service all of Boeing's airplanes. Right now, it's estimated that half of our planes that come to Hawaii are either Boeing or the non-Boeing, which are usually Airbus from Europe. The difficulty is they never said how often they have to be called. We had a hearing the other day, and it was really kind of a shot across our bow, Hawaii. If that does take place, if there is a strike, we're going to have a real downturn in our economy, which heretofore has been really on the uptick. That is kind of the latest. We will keep you posted. That's something that, if it does happen, it'll be a rather big hit to the state of Hawaii if we shut down that visitor industry, which, by the way, is now leading the turnaround in our economy the same way that 10 years ago that real estate led the turnaround in our economy. Now it's the visitor industry. Now, for those of you in East Honolulu, a couple of updates to you, in that I do represent Kalama Valley to Hawaii Kai. Even though I'm a state representative, I'm going to talk about some of the local issues, and then I'm going to end in this brief discussion with what's going on in the legislature. First, an update. Why is that big crane sticking its head out behind the Great Lawn across from Honolulu Bay? What are they doing there? The image was, hey, they're starting to build that strip mall, which nobody wants, except Kamehameha Schools, Bishop Estate, is insistent upon that you people in Hawaii Kai and East Honolulu do want a strip mall there. And I'm not convinced that it's necessary, but here's the reality of what that crane is there in anticipation of unloading the sediment, which they're going to use when they dredge the marina. They've got 90% of the permits ready, and they're just getting ready to pick that basically sediment, sludge, or what I think it's not sludge, but it's sediment that is built up over the last 10 years or so. And they're going to pad it and put it in place in that section behind the Great Lawn. Now, speaking of the Great Lawn, Bishop Estate and Kamehameha Schools, despite what the Department of Transportation says would be almost impossible to get egress or ingress in and out of that place, is still insisting that people, you in East Honolulu, want to have a foodland there and a strip mall. That's something contrary to what a lot of us believe. Now, what is another big issue going on forward in Hawaii Kai is that many of you have said, why are the third world roads going on in Hawaii Kai? We have not had the paving schedules that we wanted. There's going to be a bit more paving other than through the Keahole up into Mariners Ridge, but now it's even less. And it's going to be the latter part of this year or next year when the paving comes in. For those of you who climb Mariners Ridge, there is now a fence that's been put in with chains, and Kamehameha Schools is trying to say, don't try to go into that place, and particularly if you're there, don't try to start any fires. Lastly, what are we doing now in the legislature? We are doing, if you can imagine, all the things from sex, drugs, and gambling is coming up in your legislature. So I want you to stay tuned. This is just a warm-up and a tease to what you're going to see coming down the line. And for those of you in Hawaii Kai, remember the neighborhood board covers these issues with Representative Ward, Representative Senator Sloan, Senator Laura Thielen, and Senator Mark Hashim. So we always give you an update, but I want to thank Olelo for these brief updates that we're able to bring to you. I'm Representative Gene Ward. I appreciate your viewing. Thank you, and aloha.
Aloha, my name is Keiko Bonk, and I'm here today as the director of a new small organization forming called Pono. I've been working on the Pono project now for about 3 years. We are focused with good planning issues and policy development, as well as on protection of our natural resources and changing the culture of Hawaii to incorporate the health and well-being of not just our people, but the environment. I'm here today following a bill in the Senate Water Land Committee that would call for studies to be done to help in the protection of nearshore aquarium fish that are being taken at this time. In particular, the indigenous fish that are being collected to be sent all around the world. I think it is very important that we protect our indigenous species both in the oceans and on land, as well as our highly prized endemic species, those found nowhere else on Earth. And Pono has been following, in particular, 439 endangered species in Hawaii that have been neglected and haven't been truly cared for and therefore are being depleted. So we're here today to stop the old practices where we did not study before we take and alter ecosystems. And we are proposing that if people are going to take from the public resources, in this particular case from our nearshore reefs, if you're going to take tropical fish to sell off away from Hawaii to China and the mainland, then you have to do a study before taking. And that's what the bill is about. So I support that. And I'm here today in my capacity as leader of Pono to do the right thing. And that is to support this bill and study of all natural resources from the public domain to be studied before we alter them in any way. I'm also here this week because we have a lot of very interesting planning issues coming up, and one particular one that I've been following, and a lot of people in Hawaii who do public policy and community organizing, they've been following the Public Lands Development Corporation bills. And there's so many of them, but we're going to be hearing the Senate bill, I believe, this week on Thursday, one of the Senate bills. And I'm here to support the repeal of the PLDC. I've been amongst many people across the state who have said that it is irresponsible to take away the public lands and the public natural resources without following the steps that we have put into place for planning over many, many decades. And this, the establishment of PLDC just pretty much demolished a lot of those planning procedures. So we're here to repeal. I think we have a good chance to do that, and a lot of people are behind it, and so am I. And then also this year, it looks like we have a good chance to also start passing some good other health related issues, bills concerning genetically modified plants and animals. So we're going for a labeling bill, which shouldn't really offend anyone. It just offers the alternative so that people know what they're buying. And so if you're into GMO products and you want to continue buying them, it doesn't really harm if no one's restricting you to do that. However, for those people who would like to know what they're buying to eat, and they will be able to see it listed that something has been either modified and put on the market. And so I'm here to help support that. I've joined a coalition that are part of Hawaii's Organic Farming Association, HOFA, an organization that started about 20 years ago on Hawaii Island, where I'm from, and they're coming out to support the good practices of farming in Hawaii, and the labeling bill is really important to them. So I'll be here to support the bills that are being introduced regarding that. So again, Pono is really an organization that is trying to link not just scientific data to do good practices, but also to interject another ethical and cultural value system back into our policy making. And that means that based on scientific data and based on good practices, we will be able to do more ethical policy development in the state of Hawaii. And I think that we would be able to also judge what is more ethical, what is more pono, what is actually good for our society when we start to develop a more systematic way of seeing how quality of life improves with the policies that we do. And so I'm here today to just introduce a couple of the ideas that, a couple of the bills that I'm concerned with. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Greg Takayama. I'm serving in the State House of Representatives as a freshman member. I just got elected this past the election in 2012, the first time I've ever run for public office. I'm grateful to the people of Pearl City for electing me as their representative. 34th District represents Pearl City, Waimalu, Pacific Palisades, and Momilani. Now, when I campaigned for office, I explained to people that my background included being a journalist at Channel 2 for 8 years, and also serving at the University of Hawaii as the spokesman for the Manoa campus for about 7 years. So I've had a varied kind of background, and I like to think that, you know, my emphasis will be on communicating with constituents, listening to their concerns, and trying to act on their behalf as the advocate for Pearl City. Now, one of the things I learned as I walked door to door during the campaign was that I came across many people who expressed concerns about elders, about senior citizens, about how they're cared for, especially in times of illness. And I studied more and more about the issue of long-term care, and I've come to the conclusion that it's really a looming crisis that our state faces. And so it's been one of my priorities as a freshman legislator to call attention to what I call is a perfect storm that's looming for the state of Hawaii in the next 15 to 20 years. And the reason I say it's a perfect storm is that there are three issues that are coming to a head. Number one, the baby boomer generation is increasing in age, and in the next 15 years, 20% of our entire resident population in Hawaii will be comprised of people who are at least 65 years of age. People in Hawaii live longer than any other place in the country. Our average lifespan is 82 years of age. So people are healthier, they live longer, but at some point, inevitably, they will fall ill. They will need some form of long-term care. Which brings me to the second point. Trying to get into a long-term care facility is very difficult. All of them have waiting lists. And even if you can get into one, the cost is very high. Which brings me to number three. The average cost of a skilled nursing care facility, $127,000 a year, more than $10,000 a month, which is unaffordable for the great majority of people. One of the things that we found is that in an annual year, the state spends more than $200 million on taking care of people who are 65 or over and rely on Medicaid to pay for long-term care because they've exhausted all of their own personal resources. Now, remembering that the numbers of our seniors will increase to more than 20% of our population in the next 15 years, we are facing what I consider a financial and social crisis that we really need to address. One of the things I've looked at is the idea of reviving a study that was done just a year and a half ago. A long-term care commission studied the issue for about a year and a half, and last year reported its findings. You can see by the thickness of its report that it's a fairly lengthy report, and they paid a great deal they did a great deal of research into this issue. Two of the most important conclusions. Number one, we need to address the issue of how do we pay for long-term care. As I mentioned before, falling to Medicaid is no solution because the state pays for half the cost of Medicaid. The federal government pays the other half. Everyone who needs long-term care and uses Medicaid, the cost adds up to hundreds of millions of dollars that we'll be facing. One of the recommendations by this Long-Term Care Commission is that the state really look at the idea of financing some kind of insurance that the state can operate and maintain and offer to people of Hawaii in their old age. It's an issue that actually came up about 8 or 9 years ago. The legislature actually passed a form of long-term care insurance, but the implementation was vetoed by Governor Lingle. So it's an idea, I feel, that really has resurfaced, and the time has come to restudy the issue, see if we can revive and update the prior social insurance program that was passed by the legislature. And so I've introduced, and it's called the House Bill 1, the very first bill introduced in the State House, addresses that issue, and it calls for an actuarial study costing about $300,000, and it's supported by the governor, to actually study long-term care insurance, the cost, the feasibility, and how it would be operated. We hope to have hearings soon on it, and I will certainly keep constituents and everyone else informed via my website as to the status of it. Number 2, House Bill 2, actually, is the fact that the public needs to be informed about the crisis that I've just mentioned, about the fact that long-term care insurance is something that people really should try and purchase on their own, because inevitably everyone will need some form of long-term care. As much as elders want to stay at home and have their services cared for, inevitably at some point in your towards the end of life you will need long-term care facilities, and you need a means to pay for it. Insurance is the perfect way to do it. So anyway, that concludes my talk, and I'm glad all of you tuned in, and I'll be certainly happy to keep everyone informed on this and other issues as the legislature proceeds. Aloha, thank you very much for listening.
Aloha mai kākou e nā oiwi o Hawaii. E iau o Kamoa e wak, o au ka luna o ka aha kauleo, e mākou ma ka aha olelo I kia la, me nā keiki o ke kaiapuni, o iho I nā kula kaiapuni like ole, ma ke ia moko puni o ahu. Ho ike ai ko mākou make make, e loa ka ho ike kupono, ka ho ike I hana ia mao ka olelo Hawaii, I hiki ke ana ia ka makaukau nā keiki ka holomua a pela aku. O iei, o ka ho ike haawi ia nei nā keiki a ole no I kupono. He unuhi ia mai ka olelo haole mai, no leila a ole I kupono. Make mako e hana ia ke kai ho ike mai loko mai o ka olelo Hawaii, he mea I kupu mai mao ka olelo a mao ka nohona o nā kanaka o ihoi nā mea pili I ka mea iao ia ma ka papa. Aloha, my name is Kamo Aiwak. I'm the chairperson of the Aha Kauleo, which is a statewide consortium of teachers, of parents, and administrators, and also support organizations for the Kula Kaiapuni, which are the Hawaiian language immersion schools around the state. But here on Oahu, we're here today to meet with key legislators of education committees. We also have met with Ms. Catherine Mataoshi, the head of the Department of Education, and she spoke to the students and assured her commitment to helping us find appropriate solutions to the testing situation. We're here today to urge legislators to support bills that are going to ask that the State Department of Education develop appropriate testing in the language, which has been created strictly in Hawaiian within the context of the Kula Kaiapuni or the Hawaiian immersion schooling. Right now, the test that we have is inappropriate for the students in that it's a translation from the English test, which the actual translation has created problems for students who have taken the test. So what we're asking is that they support legislation to create and provide funding for a test created strictly in Hawaiian for the Hawaiian language immersion students.
Hi, I'm Lynn Fallon. I'm Deputy Director of the Hawaii State Department of Health, Behavioral Health Administration. My area of responsibility oversees 4 divisions. The first division is adult mental health, child and adolescent mental health, the alcohol and drug abuse division, and the developmentally disabled divisions. We really do serve those individuals in our community who have very, very challenging circumstances in their lives. Some are homeless, some are in alternative care, away from their families. We have children as a result of the Felix Consent Decree who are the most severely emotionally disturbed. In our area of responsibility, we have been working with our governor who convened a special action team. And that special action team was convened because the governor was very, very concerned about the rise in the population, the number of patients at the Hawaii State Hospital. The Hawaii State Hospital serves adults who need to be put into a hospital because of their severe and persistent mental health condition. And that population has risen way above what would be, we consider what it should be. We also are very concerned about the cuts in adult mental health services over the years. And so as the economy rebuilds itself, we're hoping that through the special action team recommendations, the work we're doing in community forums, that we'll be able to make really good decisions to rebuild the mental health system and sustain it over the years. This legislative session, we have a number of measures that we're asking the legislature to consider. These measures came about as a result of SAT, or the Governor's Special Action Team. They'll be heard in the health committees in the Senate and the House, HB 910, SB 1141. These measures are, some of which are housekeeping, which will enable individuals who are committed through the courts to the Hawaii State Hospital to be able to have the same kinds of sentences that align with people without mental health conditions. We feel this is a civil rights issue, and that whether someone has a mental health issue or is incarcerated for other reasons into the prison system, that their sentences should be the same. And so we're asking to have amendments to legislation that was passed in 2010 or 2011 that will clarify that individuals who are committed to the state hospital and then released on conditional release are able to have limited terms on their conditional release for 1 year. We're also asking for other changes that will help to streamline the process so people get the treatment they receive as soon as possible, and they are able to be either admitted or released from the state hospital as patients in a timely manner. We also have other measures before the legislature that we're monitoring, some of which will help, we hope, will provide guidance to us as a department in terms of what services we invest in, such as crisis stabilization, so we don't have to overuse the emergency rooms, and also that we look at different kinds of programs, such as peer specialists, so that consumers who have mental health problems really are able to recover, seek meaningful employment, and become law-abiding citizens like all of us. You know, there's a lot of stigma about mental health, and we want to be sure that through programs like the Peer Specialist Program and the Clubhouse Program, that we serve those with mental health problems in our communities, and you know, we do them justice.
Aloha
Aloha, this is State Representative Rita Cabanilla. I'm coming to you here from the state capitol. Thank you for watching Olelo. I represent District 41, which is the Ewa side of Ewa Beach. You know, we're divided by Fort Weaver Road. Now the Ewa side is District 41, which I represent. Today, which I don't know when you're going to hear this being aired, but today they're talking about the parking lot for homeless people, those working people who owns a car that they don't have a place to park their car to sleep at night. This is not for every homeless there, but the reason why I'm initiating this, because first and foremost, I'm your chair on the Committee on Housing for the House of Representatives. It's not a very lucrative or nice chairmanship. However, somebody has to do it. You know, housing is not one of those favored committees because I have to deal with the issues of homelessness. And as you know, we want to help the homeless, but there's always this issue about not in my own backyard type thing. So all the solutions that's been offered, for the most part, are being shut down. But the Hawaii Interagency on Homelessness was supposed to formulate some solutions to ending homelessness. Their solution is to build affordable housing, permanent units for them, which we cannot deliver at this time. And you know, we have budget crunch, and I don't think that can be all accomplished at a given time. Maybe the number of affordable housing, rental housing could be achieved at a later time, but I think as long as we have diversity of needs, there's a lot of people that want certain things from your state government, there's always that challenge. So anyhow, the concept is, because you probably heard it on TV and on the radio, so I want you to hear it from me, the introducer of the bill. This is something temporary until we find a solution. As you know, the homeless is causing blight to our communities. It's you see them every place, and we have to protect the aesthetic look of our state because we are a tourist state. And also the humanitarian side of it. You know, we empathize with the homeless, so we have to come up with solutions. Being that it's temporary, we need to pursue it because we need to address those issues. So the concept is that if there's anybody out there that wants to donate their parking structure at night for them to park their car with minimum security, provision for sanitation, that would be very nice. And I put an appropriation there so to invite more people to participate, because I understand that there's things like insurance that they need to address. So that's that. Now I want to move on to the issues or the capital improvement project for District 41. And one of the number one things that I noticed that's also very visible is that Campbell High School, James Campbell High School, is the biggest high school in the state. They have the most and the largest enrollment there is, and so many. And furthermore, there's a lot of people coming into the district. There's still developments going on, so we need to address the children. The children are our future, like they say. So I appropriated like $11 million for the land purchase and planning, initial planning for a new high school in Ewa. Number two is the widening of Fort Weaver Road from Geiger Road all the way on, because we have 3-lane highway starting from Lau Lau Nui all the way to Geiger. Then from Geiger on, it's 2 lanes. So I believe that you'll agree with me that we need to move that into a 3-lane highway. The other thing is that when you're traveling Mauka, like you're going to town, you'll be traveling at a 3-lane highway on Fort Weaver Road, and then 1 lane goes to Waipahu, and the other 2 will go above the bridge to Kunia Road above Farrington High School. If you can imagine what I'm talking about, that turns into 2 lane. It's not yet a major bottleneck, but as we grow, as all those developments come on, that will soon be the next bottleneck. So those are the 3 main things, amongst other things, that I have put in my CIP, capital improvement projects. I know we appropriated for Mackay Middle School, and I know that there's issues about busing children to the schools. I'm fully aware of those, and we're working on solutions. But the main thing is that we here at the state capitol are looking at the things that's important to you. So as your state representative, I welcome you to call me, call the office, and let us know what are the things that are most important to you. I want to hear from you, and that's what I'm here for, to receive all those initiatives that you may have, so we can bring forward the district as well as the state to go forward. Again, my name is State Representative Rita Cabanilla of District 41. That is the other half of Eva Beach that's working for you, and thank you for the opportunity to serve you. Our office number is 586-6080. And then if you want to send an email, and I'm sure all of you have computers out there, send me an email, whether good or bad. I would like to hear from you. Rep Cabanilla at capital.hawaii.gov. Aloha and have a nice day.
Aloha, this is Senator Jay Kalani English representing the 7th Senatorial District, which is the Hana, Eastern Upcountry Maui, Molokai, Lanai, and Kaho'olawe. This year, the Senate has chosen the theme of food and energy resiliency as an overarching theme to many of our bills and how we approach legislation. So you'll see many bills dealing with food safety, production of local food, packaging of food, putting food into the local markets, offsetting imports. And we're doing the same with energy, looking at indigenous energy, how we can produce local energy and put that into our energy consumption patterns so that we offset the importation of fuel. This year, I chair the Senate Committee on Transportation and International Affairs, and I'll also sit on the Committee on Ways and Means, and on the Committee of Agriculture, and finally on the Committee of Economic Development and Housing. So for this 2013, we have a very full agenda ahead of us, and we've begun the hearing process. We've just started hearing the first set of bills, and as the session moves on, I'd like to discuss with you more of the bills that we have and some of the concepts and ideas moving forward. So until then, until next time, aloha.
Aloha, my name is Lauren Kelohilani Cheap, and I'm very proud to be representing the 45th District, which is Mililani, Schofield, Wheeler, Wailua, and Mokuleia. And there's so many great things that are coming up this session. A few of the committees that I'm on this year, I am on housing, health, education, higher education, and agriculture. But what I really wanted to talk about today is agriculture. I have a deep history here in Hawaii with agriculture. My family has an egg farm in Wahiawa. It is 103 years old this year, and I feel that I have that amazing opportunity to really come in and bring the voice of the farmers. And we've been working with a lot of people in my district, from traditional farming to hydroponics to aquaculture to aquaponics. And really there's so many great things that are coming up with agriculture and a lot of bills coming through. But what I think is so important is being able to bring the water quality up to code in our district. I think that's what's really going to make the difference. If we're able to have affordable lands and water that we're able to tap into, we can really start to have a sustainable Hawaii. I mean, we bring the stats in all the time that, you know, if there's a shipping strike or a natural disaster, that we only really have 7 to 10 days of food. And that's a really staggering statistic that I think we need to address this year and really push for sustainability. So I encourage you all, please come down. Feel free to come and visit me in my office, give me a call, come down to the hearings, because it is such an important issue here in our state. Aloha.
Aloha kakao, Inga Gibson, Hawaii State Director with the Humane Society United States. Here at the state capitol, we've just embarked upon our this year's legislative session, and there are already about 40 animal bills that we're tracking related to a variety of animals, marine wildlife, companion animals, dogs and cats, bills that relate to terrestrial wildlife, even those that relate to farm animals. So we're tracking all these measures that could improve the lives of all animals across Hawaii. It's so important for folks in the community to get involved in the legislative process, to let their legislators know that these issues are important to them. One of the positive things about having so many bills introduced is it really sends a strong message that animal issues are people issues, whether it's a pet dog or the abuse of wildlife or protecting our cherished marine resources. It's really important that people get involved, speak with their legislators, whether it's emailing or making phone calls, or the best is actually to come down to the Capitol here in person and meet with your respective legislators. They need to hear from you. So I wanted to summarize some of our priority bills that we'll be working on this year. Again, I'm hoping for your support. One of the measures is what we're referring to as the snare bill, SB 6. This measure was introduced by Senator Clayton He. This is a critical bill that would regulate the use of snares and steel jaw leg hold traps and other very cruel, indiscriminate, and archaic devices, especially in residential areas. Unfortunately, sometimes when these devices are set, it's actually people's pets, dogs or cats, that end up being trapped in these devices. These devices can cause extreme suffering. Dogs and cats are actually known to even attempt to chew off their own limbs and to try to get out of the trap. Those that do escape, oftentimes, if they survive, will have to have their limb amputated. So a very important bill, Senate Bill 6, that's being considered actually tomorrow, that would just place some basic critical regulations on the use of these devices in residential areas where pet animals are more likely to become the victim. Another bill that we're working on with the Honolulu Prosecuting Attorney's Office is related to commercial dog breeders. This has been an issue that's been in the news for many years, especially in light of the Waimanalo puppy mill case and the recent verdict regarding the puppy mill manager. This bill, again, would place basic humane welfare standards for those that operate commercial kennels, would also set licensing and inspection requirements, and also, hold these large-scale dog breeders accountable that all too often put profit over welfare. So that bill is Senate Bill 414 and introduced by Keith Kaneshiro, the Honolulu Prosecuting Attorney, and will definitely be supporting that measure. Another bill that we're working on is Senate Bill 8. This is also a bill that's come up in prior legislatures. It's relating to veterinary medicine. Unfortunately, here in Hawaii, it is not explicitly illegal for people to perform their own surgical procedures, such as ear cutting and tail docking, on their own animals, or even animals belonging to someone else. So this bill would explicitly prohibit anyone who is not a licensed veterinarian from performing these very cruel procedures. Obviously, if you're not a veterinarian, you don't have access to anesthetic, to pain medication. These animals, primarily dogs, are often bound with duct tape, and their ears are cut with garden shears or with razor blades. So again, a very modest but critical measure. If you're going to do these procedures on your animal, it must be done by a professional licensed veterinarian that has access to these important medications. Another bill that we're working on is SB 9. This is also related to the recent Waimanalo puppy mill case, where despite 153 misdemeanor cruelty convictions for the animals that were involved, the judge failed to prohibit the defendant from owning animals. So basically, the very next day when he is released from jail, he could start up operating again. So this bill would require that anyone convicted of cruelty to animals, whether the first-degree felony or second-degree misdemeanor, be prohibited from owning or residing with animals for a minimum period of time. And this measure, again, is very modest. We have it in about 30 other states, and it just sets forth basic provisions. If someone has abused animals, we know that they're more likely to escalate to violence against people. We also feel that with a lot of other crimes, if someone harms a child, you're not going to leave children in their care. The same follows for animals. If someone's been convicted of cruelty, they need to be prohibited from owning animals. So These are just a few of, as I mentioned, more than 30 animal-related bills that we're tracking this session, and I can't emphasize enough how important it is for you to get involved in the process. Next Friday, February 8th, we're having our Humane Advocacy Day here at the Capitol. You're welcome to RSVP. We'd love to see you here. We'll set up for you to meet with your respective legislators. We'll give you fact sheets. We'll give you information on all the bills that are being considered. I know a lot of people are intimidated by the legislative process, but policymakers need to hear from you. They want to hear from you, and they need to hear, again, that animal issues are people issues and that these are issues that are relevant in your community. So if you're interested for more information on any of these bills, attending our Humane Advocacy Day, or just finding out other ways that you can get involved here locally to help animals, you can visit our Facebook page, Humane Society United States Hawaii, or you can go to our webpage, humanesociety.org/Hawaii, or you can email me at igibson@humanesociety.org. Again, the animals need you. They depend on us. We must be their voice. And thank you, mahalo nui loa, for all your support.
Aloha, I'm Representative Joe Jordan. I represent the 44th District. That's the west side of Oahu, encompassing Waianae, Makaha, Makua, and my new district, portion of Maili. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today here, Olelo. I totally appreciate it. Just let me give you a little bit about my day. It's been kind of crazy and hectic. We had the children from the immersion schools through the DOE come and join us and share their mana'o and testify on some bills. I also had some constituents come in talking on some Native issues with ocean resources. So it's been quite a fulfilling and exciting day. And I just want to let you folks know that anytime you want to participate in our process, please, you can send in testimony on bills you may favor or be not in favor of. You can also come and testify in person, which I find very good. So when I have constituents or people come and testify right in front of us in testimony and hearings, that shows the most impactfulness. And anytime you have an issue that you think might come before us, please just come in and talk to the representatives. You can come in and just drop by and express your concerns or how you encourage something to be heard. So I really, really encourage participation here. And today, it's been just such an exciting day. And to see all of my constituents come in from the west side, I really appreciate it. And sometimes people fly in from the neighbor islands. So we have a very open process here, and the more we can get your participation to come in, the more we have a better process on vetting some of these bills that we all might not be knowledgeable on. So I thank Olelo for coming in. If you want to see me, I have a show, Olelo. It's called Jordan's Journal. I also support you guys with all your measures in a public process when you come and you fill our hearings, because those also give public participation when they can't attend and they can watch it on repeat. So I appreciate everything that Olelo does for us for public access. As for me, I'm here anytime. My door is always open, whether you're my constituent or not. Please come in, share what you have, and we will do the best we can. Mahalo. Have a great day. Aloha.